Hi, everybody. Welcome to Friday Night Talking Business with my new friend. I think I can call you a friend, Alex, can't I?
Yeah, I suppose so.
Yeah, my new friend, Alex. Welcome to Friday Night. See, you get this instant echo on my
new friend. I think I can call you
system.
A friend, Alex. Can't I?
Going
Yeah, I
crazy.
suppose so.
That's what I love about the technology.
My new friend, Alex. Welcome to
Brilliant.
Friday Night.
See, you get this.
and he's gone. So he's left me live. You can hear me then. So yeah, this is Simon and Alex live. Simon's just taking a quick break. Let me see if we can get him back. Bear with. Let's have a look. Oh yeah, here we go. Okay, so the idea behind this, just to pick up the pieces here, the idea behind this is for Simon and I to just talk business. Friday nights, all through August, both for Simon's crowd and Intershifties. And here he is, he's back.
That's bizarre. I closed all the browsers because I had a window open that I could hear my own voice. And then you're basically in charge of communicating to everybody.
I don't know.
Good start.
Well, before we went live, he said, "Well, you know, I obviously the first time we met, I interviewed you, and then the second time you interviewed me. We were worrying. We were kind of wondering, right, how this goes. But it looks like I'm in charge. I just booted you off. Sorry, mate.
Yeah, I don't even know how that happened. I was like, oh no, I clearly had YouTube in the background playing because it went live, and then I shut the window, and I was locked out my own broadcast, which is ridiculous, isn't it?
It's all good. We're here. We're live. Do you want to finish what you were saying? Hello to your community.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I think you probably you said something interesting while I was gone. I'm sure. I don't know.
Oh, it was really interesting. Really interesting. Yeah.
No. I was just saying, Friday night. Here we are, folks, and trying something new out with a new friend. You're in St. Neots today, right, Alex? Just checking that. You're not in Italy yet.
I'm not in Italy yet. Next Friday, I'll be in Italy. So I think we were pretty agreed that August is kind of a month for people to reflect, and people tend to take a bit of downtime. It's a perfect time for us just to have a chat about business, and hopefully people get some inspiration from these conversations, and may just start September in a different way.
That's interesting, isn't it? I mean, in Hong Kong, where I lived for 20 years, August was not the time to have off, really. It's funny. It's how certain parts of the world have different rest cycles, but actually in China, people always boast about having no holiday, and how that the month of August, when everyone else goes on holiday, that's the time to knuckle down and get everything done twice as hard. But
I'm in the office. Yeah.
Well, me too, for that matter. We're both kind of hustling on a Friday night. I mean, we both work on Sundays. I've noticed we're both getting on with it on Sundays, right? That's the thing about rest days, isn't it? Like Sundays are a rest day.
What is that post you shared the other week? Was it a couple of weeks ago? You might not be able to remember the copy on it, but I loved it. I shared it, I think.
Yeah, I mean, I think Sundays, if you work Sundays, your reply was, because I remember it was, if you work a Sunday, you can have a Monday, Tuesday off in theory, right? But if you work Sundays and you work Monday and Tuesday, you can do like me and have 3 years off.
That's right. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely, man. It's interesting because I just love the peace of a Sunday to just get some. You can just get more done. I can get like 2-3 times as much done on a Sunday. Hey, Cliff, mate.
Yeah, I'm just. I think I need to make you a host on this too, but I'll just add people as they say hello.
Yeah, that's cool. Hey, Danny. So Danny's my friend in Italy. We're going to go see Danny, and I got some questions around what he's up to. I think you'll be interested, but I'll come to that later.
I always like people's profile pictures. I always feel like I want to know more. Like, is he auditioning for a James Bond movie, and he's got standing next to him, and he's like, shit, he's taller than me.
You'll love that.
Yeah, it's definitely a James Bond profile picture, isn't it?
Yeah, it is a proper James Bond profile picture. We know who that is. So no, I don't know, but she's punching.
It doesn't. Christine with a beard, it just doesn't seem to work, doesn't it? Like, hold on a minute, Christine, you have a beard. What is going on there? But I'm meaning that it's Alex, by the way, and just in case Christine's thinking I'm saying she's got a beard. I don't think you've got a beard. I'm joking. I know you haven't got a beard.
She's the one with the trousers, though.
Yeah. I could never get my wife to do that, by the way. I think that's real love, if you ask me. Someone actually puts you in their profile picture. I've been married for 21 years, and I'm lucky if my wife posts up a picture of me ever.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I'm permanently telling her to share my stuff, and she's like, that's all right.
Does she take pictures of herself, though?
No.
So she just doesn't like social media, or?
I don't know if she'd like me discussing it on social media, whether or not she likes social media. She's just very different to me, really, I guess. She's very private. I remember, we worked together every day for about 10 years. And I just remember, in the business, it always seemed fitting because Helen used to run the design department. I'd run the marketing department of the company that we owned. And I'd always be out there, shouting about the business. And my wife would always be getting on with the actual work, doing the hard work while I was doing all the talking. And I just thought that was part of our 10-year life in business. And then when we sold the company and we just spent time hanging out, I realized that was actually who she was. She didn't really want to have the high profile or the name. So that's why everyone thinks that the company I sold to PwC was all me. They think it was me. Actually, it was my wife, Helen, as well. Without her, it wouldn't have worked. But everyone thinks it's just me. So
I think Christine will relate to that.
Yeah, taking all the glory.
Yeah,
but no roasting. There's no roasting.
Yes.
So, I can't actually see you properly to give you a proper roasting. So
we can sort you out later. Yeah, you'll meet Danny at some point. You'll love him. So,
hey Luke, how you doing? Luke always joins my broadcast and contributes. He's one of the folks that kindly always helps the entrepreneurs that come into my broadcast looking for help. So hey Luke, give him a shout.
Hey Luke. Nice. Thanks for joining us, everyone.
I'm glad you got it, Christine. That was lucky for us.
Yeah, very lucky for me.
Otherwise, they'd be like, I know what it's like, how influential partners can be. But like, you're never talking to that Simon guy again. He said they've got a beard.
Yeah, be over before you start it. That's an interesting conversation, though, Simon, because it's something that Christine and I have been on a journey. It's actually quite relevant to the Danny Wheeler, who we nearly started roasting as well. Kind of building a life with your partner. I know we've talked about this before. I think we did it when you came on to my podcast, and we were talking about how amazing it is to build a life with your partner. That dynamic is so important, and I do think, especially when you've got those two roles where you've kind of got from the sounds of things, your partner being the engine room and you're out there championing the business. It's a quote that I come up with a lot, and it's very easy for a CEO or a founder to say, the Daniel Ek quote, which is, it's amazing what you can achieve together when you don't care who takes the credit, and that's very relevant. But when it's me saying it or you saying it, it's kind of ironic. But I think shed some light on that, because you spent, how many years did you run your business together? We worked
together for actually 11 years in total, and we were pretty much 24/7. She's actually now just smiling at me because I'm talking about her. I'm just saying how shy you are. Would you come and say hello on podcast or not? I think 2 fingers just went up, mate. Yeah. But it was a eye. She didn't even need to use the symbol. But yeah, I mean, it definitely was. People always say it's difficult working with your partner, and I understand what they mean. If anything, for me, I actually miss it now. We don't work together as we used to. We have our own projects. Helen helps me out on all my projects, and I pretend to add value to hers. But in a way, it's good to have stages, right? I mean, we working together was maybe a stage, but what I found working with my partner really helped, I think, our relationship was that we were working till 1, 2 in the morning on the business, and I knew a lot of my colleagues who were there with us at that time in the morning working on the business. They'd have their partners calling up like, "Where the hell are you, man? Like, just stop partying, or what is it you're doing?" And I'd hear them explain, "Well, we're working on something, and we have to deliver it by the morning, so we're still here." And having that struggle with your partner to explain what you're working on, and you're going to pass me some melon. Yeah, sure. This is what this is the awesomeness of my wife. She won't come on camera, but she will give me melon.
Oh, mate, very nice, very nice.
Yeah. So, but no, I think it definitely was a lot easier. I think to be obsessed with the business, having a partner on board. And
was she as equally as obsessed as you?
That's a good question. I mean, I don't know. Helen, were you equally as obsessed as me? I feel in a different way. Yeah, Helen is very project-based type mindset. So if Helen has a project, she will not stop until it's done. There is no. So there were times when I would go to bed at midnight, while Helen I know worked 5 more hours on something, and I'd wake up and she would have done the project. Whereas I think when you're in the kind of marketing business, there's no project, because it's more like it's an ongoing forever thing. So for me, I had to pace myself a little bit and go to bed at midnight at least, and then I could wake up in the morning and have meetings with people without having a spinning head. So I think we played different roles really, which is what I think made the business work too. But equally, it was nice when we were no longer working together in some respects, because we realized we liked each other regardless of work. Sometimes people, maybe when they're working together, they that's fine, and then when they don't have that anymore, it feels like there wasn't anything in common. But yeah, and I think now Helen knows who I am as well. I see in business a lot of people are different in business to who they are at home.
Yeah. And
I saw that in my older brother, for example, who at work was a pretty tough individual, but at home was always so sweet.
Yeah.
And it wasn't until they got divorced, my brother and his wife, that they found out who they both were.
Right. Yeah. That's such a shame, isn't it?
Yeah. It's I guess for a lot of people, they like being kind of Jekyll and Hyde. But when you work with someone, you can't really hide who you are. I remember in 2003 when we had the SARS crisis, which is coronavirus 1.0 in Hong Kong in 2003, and it was tough, and we had a bit of a cash crunch, and I just remember having this conversation with Helen, like, how we're going to pay our bills, what we're going to do. And Helen was always like, well, we've got to pay other people first. Let's pay the salaries no matter what. And, I guess you kind of learn about some of those points in life, because Helen could have easily been, I've got to get the money for me. I've got to look after myself. And, you learn about people in tough moments. In business, that people can't hide it, I think. So I found out what a decent person Helen was during tough moments like that.
I think a lot of people are finding that out right now. I think it was something I quoted not really early in the process, and I've quoted it a lot since, is, when pressure is applied, character is revealed. And sometimes you need that pressure, whether it be just in an economy or within you as a person, you need that pressure applying to you just to squeeze out those moments. And you never forget those little moments that you witness people, how they react. Like you say, if they're saying, well, no, but I've got to pay for my Ferrari, I've got to pay for my Porsche or whatever, or no, actually, I need to take a pay cut here because I've got to keep these people employed. That's a big no for me if I start seeing some scarcity mindset creeping in.
Totally, yeah. And I always remember the kind of moments when so we had an advertising agency, right? So at different points in the business, you could say big names walk through the door and offered us, like tobacco companies, for example, came through the door and offered us big payments for projects, and sitting down with Helen, who's my business partner in business, saying should we take on this work, and Helen saying no way, I'd rather be poor than work for these evil people. It's kind of they improve you too, because now I want to know, Danny, what the melon joke would be. What wife melon jokes are there out there?
No, I can't.
Melon face. I need to know what the jokes would be, and then Luke's got a serious question. Thank God someone's got a serious question. Any advice on getting over pricing mindset barriers for charging high amounts? That's a very interesting question. I have a viewpoint. What do you think?
I think we've shown over the last couple of years. I think take me back a few years back when we first started in business, and it was all about getting busy. That was our focus. It was just we'll take anything. Yes. You realize that actually that's not very fulfilling. You can't really provide much of a quality service if you haven't got the margin to add services, automation, extra quality to your offering. More recently, when we launched Snuggeries, for example, we started right up there, and it's really difficult to get your mindset in the place of no, this is who we work for, this is our target market, this is what they want premium, they want quality, and they won't accept anything less. And if your target market is that genuinely that target market, it's not just stories you tell yourself, and you build a premium product and it is fantastic, then there won't be any pricing barriers. There won't be any pricing mindset barriers, because the customer's not thinking price; they're thinking quality. Would be my take on that.
That's interesting. I think pricing wise, I've gone through every different type of pricing structure there is, and I think that you can leverage pricing to achieve what you want. I remember in the early days of my agency business, I would charge what I would call a reasonable fee for me to be involved in helping clients. And then I realized I couldn't scale the business if I was always the one in meetings. David Ogilvy, one of the big agencies, used to always say he always felt he was the best person to be in the room to win business and to impress clients. So initially I took that strategy, and then to get myself out of the room, so I wasn't always the one that was being asked to come in the room, I priced myself at £5,000 an hour.
Nice.
And that seemed to turn people away from wanting to be in the room anymore, which is great. It allowed me to go and do other things. But so you can use pricing to politely say no. But I actually really like working around the concept of free. It's kind of $1 billion or free, which one you want. And
yeah,
I like the idea of free. As I have this conversation a lot with people about, if you give something to someone for free, do they value it? And I think they absolutely do if you bring value. And it's quite interesting. Like even what I'm doing today, where I'm helping people for free, it's interesting when people kind of say, well, what's the catch,
Yeah, it's funny because we've been running surveys in Shifties, because as you know, we're kind of evolving Shifties at the moment. And someone, the last question on the survey just says basically, is there anything else you want to say or let us know or talk to us about? And someone said, I joined recently, and I kind of thought it was a funnel, but it's not a funnel, and it's great. It's like a pleasant surprise that they're not in a funnel. It's like you say, it's just free, and it's there for you.
Yeah, and I think there is a lot of cynics out there that will say, oh, nothing's for free, and then ironically they never leverage anything that's given to them for free, so they can stick to that saying. But I get plenty of things for free. Rode microphones, the people I use my podcast, just sent me a load of free stuff. It actually is free. I would have paid for it, and they sent it to me for free. Yes, maybe they want me to keep putting it in the broadcast, but I was going to do it anyway.
Yeah, that's true.
So it's kind of interesting. And then the other side of it is also value. Like I think in the agency business, someone else is asking a similar question on pricing, charge per hour, a set package. I think an hour fee is flawed. My view is always it depends on your agenda, but if you want to make money, the only way to make money is buy time, not sell time. Buy time, don't sell time. And so when you start doing by the hour, you are going to limit yourself by the amount of hours you do in a day, which, by the way, can also be fine for some people. If you're a sole trader and you just want 8 hours of work a day and you want to make good money from doing that, then per hour is fine. But that really limits you. This is actually my thing about lawyers, that everyone wanted to be a lawyer when I was young, for some reason. Maybe LA Law or whatever. It was all popular shows that were on being lawyers. But I always looked at it like, today I see it in their 40s, they're still selling hours. They've only got 8 hours in a day. That's why they're starting at 6 a.m. and finishing at midnight when they're successful lawyers. Hours just end up meaning you literally have to work those hours to keep up. That said, the question here about set packages is also a tricky one. My personal end philosophy on pricing is charge nothing. If you really like the business you're involved in, get equity in it. Then when you help it and it's successful, you get the upside on that. That was my end model personally.
It depends on the industry, I suppose, doesn't it? And that's the thing. But generally, I can't see, as you say, I can't see any benefit of working by the hour unless, you may as well just be employed, or like you say, you built yourself a lifestyle. business, you're freelancing, you're oversubscribed, and your hourly rate's creeping up, and that's great. But I'd rather some upside in any deal. And we're actually changing our model. One of our businesses, we're changing our model, our pricing model, because I want a piece of. If I can't have equity, as you rightfully say, I'd like to have equity ideally, and a management fee to go with that to service the resources within the business. But if I can't have that, then I want a percentage of turnover. I want whatever I'm doing to scale, no matter what, because it's no good for the client. It's no good for me if in a year's time, we're having to negotiate, and I've grown, my business has grown at this rate, and your business has only grown at this rate. Then you can't afford me anymore, and that becomes awkward. So for me, whatever it is, it needs to be scalable, I would say, in my eyes.
Yeah, it's a good point. I mean, again, I think it depends on what stage you are in life and what you want out of it. And like you said, what business you're in. Because I worked on projects for CNN and Estee Lauder. They're never going to give me equity.
No, of course not.
Platforms, right? So the way I used to reverse it was two things. One, I would charge a lot, and I would actually work off set packages, but not even set packages. I take the word set out there. I would just say packages. So, it's £100,000 a month, and we'll help you achieve an extra 100,000 viewers a month. That type of idea. So results linked.
Yeah, like that
package as opposed to hour-based services. And then I'd always try and build in something like, in return, they'll also give us 23 ad slots on CNN over the next 12 months as a way of, connecting us to the brand as well. So, I mean, they have often, it won't give you equity, but then I could use those slots for the startups that I was helping,
Nice.
As big as you can think, right? That's the thing I'm always trying to tell people, just how big can you make it? And as soon as you start thinking hours, you're going down the food chain, if you ask me. Even if you're charging a large amount an hour, you're still going down the food chain because it's still selling time and not buying time.
Yeah.
By the way, guys, as we're answering these questions, you can either let us know if the answer was good or if you want us to carry on.
Yeah, you want us to dig deeper, then just tell us.
And because Luke's being nice about me and I'm in control of the admin today. Look, I'll just say that. Thank you, Luke. Thank you, Luke. I appreciate the kind comment. Cliff, how you doing? That's a good question. Any thoughts on moving subcontractors onto the payroll? Why does that feel like a layup for Alex? Go on, Alex. What do you think?
No, I don't think it's a layup. I think it's a challenge always I think very much in Cliff's industry, so construction industry. There's a lot of that, a lot of project-based work. So, you want to have quality people building your houses or building your buildings, whatever it is that you're building. But because it's so project-based, trades tend to move with the money, right? So they move with the money and they only think about the money. So, ideally you'd have them on the payroll because one, it's more stability for your business. Two, you can then start investing in those people and developing those people and make them better at what they're doing, more efficient and ideally more fulfilled and happy. So I think it's more around having the conversation with those people that are subcontractors to say, look, you're better off with me. You're better off on this journey with me. Jump on the pirate ship, as I like to say. Jump on the pirate ship with me and we're going to look after you. We're going to develop you and you're going to be in a better place when you leave here regardless. I think it's a big problem in the UK, Simon, in construction, trying to build a team and weighing up the risk of what if, the next plot of land where you're building 3 or 4 houses takes 2 or 3 months and you got labor sat there on your payroll doing nothing. So to relate to you, Simon, when you were running the marketing agency, it's like having no projects running and you've got 10 designers sat there doing nothing.
We had that problem many, many times.
How did you handle that? How did you manage that?
We basically built our own products. So whenever we had downtime, we always had something else to do.
Nice.
And then we charged so much money that would fund our own projects.
Nice, smooth.
So like web-wise, we basically ran massive web portals and products out of Asia. So whenever, a client project was finished, because it was always like that. It'd also be like you give a client a project, you'd wait for feedback. You could wait a whole week and you'd have 200 people sitting around waiting for client feedback. But like, you just can't live like that. But I think Cliff's question is an interesting one, because I guess taking it out of the subcontractors to onto payroll point, I think generally you're talking, in my view, about suppliers. And should you bring them onto the payroll? I mean, I always think with suppliers, there should be a partnership arrangement where they ideally make themselves busy when you don't need them. And maybe there's some upside for you if they on that. And then vice versa, when you're busy and you're involved, there's some upside in that for them too. So, again, it's like a partnership thing. Every supplier I've ever worked with, I've tried to make them my partner, either by, like my printing partners in Asia. Printing's a big part of what we used to do. We own parts in the businesses of printing. So but they were printing other people's stuff too. But we were loyal to them, giving them the work, underpinning them, and then they would pick up other work, and we would benefit from that, as well as having a loyal supplier, relationship going on. So it's never easy figuring out. You don't want a fixed payroll that you're kind of in trouble for. But if you don't have people on the payroll, I mean, theoretically, having people feeling like they're secure, they're always running around looking for other work. Then, ironically, when you need them, they're busy on something else. Exactly.
That is the yin and the yang. That's the kind of, it's a chicken and egg situation, isn't it? It's what do you do? What do you do first with that? No, it's a good question, Cliff. It's a challenge that every scaling business will have. Interesting you said about the partnership thing, Simon. I'm interested to hear more about this, because I'm exactly the same. Every supplier that I've ever worked with in any of the businesses I work with, I've always tried to build a partnership. And I don't know if you've seen this, but there's a video where Peter Jones goes and interviews two different businesses. One is the founders of Innocent, Innocent Smoothies.
Yep.
And the other was a UK underwear brand. I can't remember the name of it. It's terrible. But anyway, on the Innocent side, they went out to see one of the suppliers of Innocent, and they had a very open and honest conversation. The farmer hadn't changed their pricing haven't gone up or down for Innocent in 10 years. They just had an agreement, an arrangement. They said, no matter what, we'll always order the same every year, and we'll always maintain the rate. And he had the cheaper rate, even cheaper than the likes of Tesco's, even cheaper than bigger businesses, because he had that arrangement. So when there was hard times, he had that rate. And when there was really good times and the market was squashed, he still paid a little bit more, but it was a win-win always. And I think that was interesting.
Yeah, it reminds me actually, because I grew up in St. Neots. I lived in Little Paxton, and I haven't been there for a while, but there used to be a butcher's shop in Little Paxton. And I worked there on a Saturday. And I can remember the owner of that butcher shop, when all the big supermarkets were kicking in and taking his business, always talking to me about the meat supply was the same people that he was using, was the same people that used to supply Tesco's. But right. because he got on well with the drivers, they used to come to his butcher's shop first in Little Paxton and let him take the pick of the best meat, and then they go to Tesco's with what they had left.
Nice. Power of a relationship.
Yeah, it's all about relationship. Exactly, yeah. This is... Oh, no, hold on. I'm putting up my own one again that I liked.
Sorry.
Oh, no. So this is the layout for sure, because this is what we're actually going to be talking about.
You, Simon, mate. You've got to start. That's you. You've chucked them at me. It's all you now.
Yeah, but what do you think makes a good business leader?
I think selfless leaders are important in today, especially in times like this, that put people ahead of themselves and actively seek doing so. I think ownership is absolutely essential. So having the accountability to say that no matter what, everything's my fault. I think that's a good trait to have in life generally. What else makes a good leader? Work ethic is important. I think we're in the trenches right now. I want to see my leader in the trenches with me, so I think work ethic is a good one. So I'd say they're my top three. I think, putting others before themselves, having strong accountability and taking responsibility for their life, and because of the first trait, others around them. And I can't remember what I said on the third one. What did I say?
I was thinking about my answer, so I was leaving.
I can't remember what I said in the third one. I did this the other day.
Someone will tell us in a minute. They'll make a comment.
Someone will tell me and make me look silly. Yeah, Christine, you tell me what the third one. And Christine, what do you think makes a good leader? Because Christine is going through quite the transition, Simon, in life right now. Going in, she's been placed as CEO of multiple businesses, and she's been moving through these businesses, and she's going through a lot of leadership development right now. So I'd like to know what Christine thinks makes a good leader in business too. Whilst you tell me what I said third, work ethic. There you go. Work ethic. Thanks, Danny. Thanks.
Yeah. Thanks, Danny. Yeah.
So what are your top 3 things that make a good leader, Simon?
First thing is there's no top 3 because they're really. I mean, with leadership, there's just a massive list, isn't there? I mean, my kind of overarching feeling is more. I don't feel like when I'm the boss. I feel like I'm working for the people that work for me. You know, actually, I get a little bit energized by the people that work for me, like Talia, who recently joined me on the podcast stuff. You know, her enthusiasm for what we're doing actually pushes me to spend more and do more. And
well done, Talia. Well done. Keep it going.
Yeah. But it's kind of, you know, I think when I was younger, I always wanted to be the boss. You know, it's that kind of Mark Zuckerberg business card. I'm the CEO, bitch. And but you know, I think when you get into it, you realize that actually you're basically working for those people that work for you. You know, you're what you want to make sure they're comfortable, happy. They're, you know, I always feel like the key to leadership is actually being clear what you're trying to achieve in the business, and then hopefully employing people that can get on with it on their own. I'm not saying, you know, training is always needed, but, you know, I find a lot of these training courses often load of, I was going to say wank, I'm not sure what we can say on air. You know, I find a lot of it is like common sense shit, you know, like I also do see, like, I hate performance reviews and all that sort of stuff.
Oh, no, it's old hat. It's old hat.
I think modern versions, which is like the 360 review. So you tell me what you think of me and I'll tell you what I think of you, you know. And but I don't know, I always feel like there's an element of you've got to, instead of walking in a room and saying you haven't done these 3 things today, which is what, you know, I think when I was younger, I thought leadership was about. It's like, you know, I'm picking you up, you're late and you haven't done these 3 things today. Instead I walk in like, is everything okay? Do you need anything? You know, what's up? What, you know, if they're good performing people and they haven't done those 3 things you're meant to do that day, then I always want to know, you know, what's going on and how we can help them or cut them a break, or, you know, maybe someone else can take over their duties for a week. Maybe they need some time off, whatever it is, you know, like I think that empathy is such an important part of leadership. And then there's a few comments here which I agree and don't agree with, so I don't put them up. Don't ask anyone of anything that you're not prepared to do yourself. Again, I mean, I ask accountants to do accounts because I hate them.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, like, please do the accounts because I hate accounts. So I would ask someone to do something that I'm not prepared to do myself, or I can even argue I'm not good enough to do myself. But certainly in the area that I work in, let's say marketing, I would never ask anyone to who works for me to work harder than me. And I do think a lot of the time people that have staff are frustrated that their staff aren't working as hard as them. They don't have fucking ownership, you know, like, it's not their company. You can't expect them to work as hard as you, and you get frustrated by it. I think 2 things are missing. Either your mission and vision isn't clear, or those people involved in the business aren't bought into your mission and vision in the way that you would like them to be. So you've done something wrong, not them. And you know, if you want them to work harder, then make them shareholders. Give them your equity. They'll work just as hard as you.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely. I think, yeah, if you want them to care, give them a slice of the pie. Simple as that, man. Simple as that. I like that. I mean,
as a counterpoint, I mean, sometimes I like to argue with myself about these things. I've given equity to people in businesses, and it hasn't changed their attitude at all. In other words, I thought giving equity to someone would make them care about the business more.
Yeah.
I was wrong. They care about the business to begin with and love it and are good. Give them equity. People that aren't that into it or aren't that good, and you know they could be, I call them in my thing like the 6 and 7s. You heard this before?
No, go on.
So basically, it's, you know, when you hire people, you kind of, with their 1s and 2s, you know they're shit. They know that, and you know that it's not right, and they know it's not right, and it's easy to kind of have a conversation. Let's part ways, and then you have the 9s and 10s. These are the superstars. You know, I the last time I had a 10 leave me, I cried. You know, she was just so good, and she worked so hard, and she loved the business, and she moved away, so she had to leave the business. So it's sad. I did cry. She's a 9 and 10, and then you have the 6 and 7s. These are people that could be 9s and 10s, and ever so often they drop to 1s and 2s, and you can spend your whole life trying to make these people 9s and 10s. They're the dangerous people to have in the business, because you end up like, you know, if you give them equity, it wouldn't necessarily change it.
I think interesting point there, and it relates. I don't want to get into the education system again, because last time we did that, we were here for like 3 hours. But it's the same problem with the education system, right? So what happens is people get bracketed like that, right? So the 1s and 2s are kind of done. Bloody hell, Christine. The 1s and 2s
come on.
Given up there. Then you've got your 9s and 10s that are flying. They're going to be fine anyway. And then it's usually the people in the middle that get forgotten, and they either go one way or the other. Whereas if you focus your energy in coaching those people and trying to get those people to excel and identifying that really early, taking more of a coaching leadership style to coach these people into being better versions of themselves, not just a better version of the role, not just a better version of what you want them to do, but actually be a better version of themselves, then there's more chance of them becoming a 9 and 10 as a person. I think that's a really important point. I like that. What's Christine giving me? Is she giving me a lot of grief in there? Or?
Oh, no, I think she's just talking about the whole process.
Okay, yeah.
Well, I'll put it back on in a minute, but it was covering up your face, and you know, you're talking, so it might be rude. No, I mean, it's interesting. No, I do see with the whole boss thing that there is sometimes a lot of empathy missing from understanding what people are going through on the other side. But I would say that a lot of the time in the hiring process, Goldman Sachs, I don't like them. But one thing I've learned from them, they interview people 13 times before hiring them.
Wow.
And so to some people, I've literally seen like within the first 5 minutes, they've hired someone. And the reason Goldman Sachs take 13 interviews to hire senior people is they want to see if they're resistant and gritty and keep pushing through and really want it. And I do feel like sometimes the hiring process is wrong. People don't really figure out what that person who they're hiring really wants. So the first question I always ask when I'm interviewing people, when I'm hiring people now, is like, what are your dreams?
Oh, I've lost you, Simon.
Oh, I'm there.
Oh, you're back. Go on. I got, what are your
Yeah, what are your dreams? I ask them what their dreams are, what they want to do. And then I try to figure out a way of incorporating that into their development. And it doesn't always work to my favor as a business, because sometimes people will tell me the truth and they'll say, yes, I'm just doing this job because what I really want to be, you know, is a musician. And as soon as I've got the money to do that, I'm off. But I'd rather that, you know, I'd rather know than people pretend that they're here because they love the job and love the mission, and they're not really thinking long term, and then figure out how you can support them.
I like that.
By the way, how I got into business with my wife. You know, she's actually a really talented designer, and I just, you know, I wanted to get her help with my company. I had a logistics company at the time, and I wanted her help with that. And I said to her, you know, what's her dream? And she talked about having her own design agency and all that. And then I said, okay. And I admit I did fancy her, so there was a little bit. I probably get in trouble these days for saying that, but there was a bit of me that was like, yeah, you know, she's a very talented designer, but wow, she's beautiful. And so I said I'd back her in her business. And as I began to explain what she should do, she said, well, I don't really want to do all that marketing stuff you just mentioned. Can you do it?
Nice.
At which point I said, okay. And yeah, next thing you know, we built a company together. But yeah, so asking people what their dreams are and trying to build your business around their dreams, not just your own, is another way to go. Equity is not the only way.
Like that. Okay. Jemima's got questions. So when do you see people going back to the office, if at all?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like the office was dying anyway as a general fixed location thing. I mean, with mobile devices, you can work from anywhere and do anything. So kind of going to the office is more for me, well, escaping your home environment, having somewhere different to a coffee shop to hang out in, and maybe having a bit of a social life with your work colleagues. So I still think that's all going to take place. Yeah, I'm personally looking for an office for my podcast studio at the moment. So I think it's, you need a particular, thing that you can keep all your kit in that isn't your home. But I guess it depends on what your business you're in. And I think people are getting a bit zoomed out. So I think there is a feeling of like, I'd like to have a face-to-face meeting.
Yeah.
So
we've seen massive demand in people wanting to. I mean, well, I hated being at home. I hated it so much. Like I needed, and I was busy. I was making progress as a business. We were growing still while everyone was doing that. But I get so much. I get so much energy from being around people. And there's more ideas that are created on those walks. We do a lot of walking meetings. Did you see the other day we ran out of meeting room space? So we just grabbed a whiteboard and went over to the park and set up with a little picnic bench. I think you need that human interaction. Again, depends on the business. It always, by the way, the answer to anything for the next 4 Fridays is always going to be, it depends, but. Yeah. I think it does depend. But I personally, I couldn't wait to get back, and I know everyone who works here feels the same. We thrive when we're together.
Yeah, I mean, it's like you say, there's always depends on your situation, but I think we always want what we don't have, partly too. So if you have the office every day at 9, you dream of being able to work from home, and then when you're stuck at home working all day, you wish you could go to an office. And I think it's all about balance, isn't it? That might be another theme. I always feel balance is important, figuring out at this moment in this month what you would like to do and doing it, as opposed to having any fixed rules about any element of business.
We're pirates, Simon. That's why we don't live by the rules. We have values.
It's interesting you said pirates earlier, because it goes for my mind as a negative word. It's like,
so have you read the book? Read a book called Be More Pirate. Pirates are if they ever get a bad rep, actually. If you go back through the history of time, pirates are one of the most innovative race of people to walk or sail the earth. Because if you think, right, so I won't say the date because I'll get it horribly wrong. Read the book; it's fantastic. But we're at a time.
I mean, Hollywood's definitely done them an injustice, because to me, pirates are, they're robbing ships.
So yes, they were. So they did terrible things, absolutely. But when I say be more pirate, and I talk about pirates, they did do good things for their people, and they did very innovative things. So, for instance, when they were at war, the English, let's say, or the British, the Navy, if you got injured, you were put on the streets. You were forgotten about. In the pirates, do you know why they had peg legs and they had eye patches and they were still around? Because they had social justice for their people. So if you got injured in war or you got injured in battle as a pirate, it was in your contract that you would be looked after for the rest of your life. They did that first before any other country in the world.
Or another theory written by a different person, that person couldn't get a job, so they had to go rob people.
Go read the book and come back and tell me.
I will go read the book. All right, I'm dyslexic, but I'll get it on audio.
Audible. I just do Audible.
Yeah. No, I mean, I guess I always think of this concept of Robin Hood. Like I like the idea of Robin Hood a lot. Maybe he should have got a ship, and then he could be a Robin Hood.
And he would be, and then you'd love him and you'd glorify him.
Yeah. No. Well, I kind of I like the idea of Robin Hood. There's something about that. like. Redistributing wealth and kind of helping those that don't have it, get it, sort of thing. Yeah, is it? I don't know.
New business.
Pardon?
Sounds like new business coming.
Something like that. Yeah, be more Robin Hood. I feel like we should do though, Christine. What do you think? Be more Robin Hood? Be more pirate. But let's see if we've got any more comments.
I'm interested in
Christine's message, because I feel like there's something really good in there about self-doubt. Let's have a little look. I mean, it's similar to both yours, but I very much agree. Working with people with a better life for them. I won't lie. Hey, we all have self-doubt, man. I think first step is admitting it.
Yeah. How do you deal with, or how have you dealt with self-doubt, Simon? Have you got any tips as a high performer? How you manage your head, how you manage the conversations you have with yourself? Do you have conversations with yourself on purpose?
I definitely have conversations with myself. I mean, it's interesting. I guess as you get older, maybe I feel like I've got more like a thick skin when it comes to, because self-doubt somewhat does come from you, but there's also an external influence, isn't there? Now, I remember when I first got into investing in startups. I'm not a finance person. I never professed that I was, but I remember competing with some bankers to invest in a business. And they were, talking to the startup founders about how Simon knows nothing about, numbers. He's just an entrepreneur, but saying that to another entrepreneur is just makes the entrepreneur smile. But to a banker, it's like they were slagging me off. But it did affect me in a way, because they are big finance people linked to, JP Morgan and those types of big brands. And there was a part of me is like, why am I dabbling in this finance, invest in a business world when you've got these super smart JP Morgan folks coming in, and maybe they're right, maybe I am going to lose my shirt and I don't know what I'm doing, and by investing in this startup they're taking my money. They should be taking JP Morgan's money because they know better. And there was a part of you that does have that self-doubt for a minute. I think part of it is you just have to push through and ignore the naysayers. But I do think there's an element of also and accepting that you might screw up or you might make a mistake, and that's okay. That's part of the learning process, right? So I think but if you let other people influence you too much, then and I know I like to think I can ignore naysayers, but when you're on the internet, for example, and you're putting yourself out there, people can be pretty rude and ruthless, and but you just have to, I guess, build up thick skin and then self-belief.
Right. It's resilience that you need in that situation, I suppose, right?
Totally. How do you deal with it? Do you have self-doubt?
Yeah, of course. I mean, I've kind of allowed it to fuel me, I suppose. I've been told from a very young age, given the start that I had, much like yourself, Simon. We had a hurried start, should we say, in life. It was kind of we had to grow up pretty quickly, and when all you hear for years is you won't get that promotion because you haven't got that degree, you won't get that chance because you didn't get any GCSEs. I didn't even pick mine up. I don't know what I got. I haven't got a clue. I have no idea. So you get that's going to have to play on your mind. That's going to play on your mind for a while, and then you enter into your career. I think it depends really on your upbringing. There's so many factors, but you need to have good leaders around you, good mentors. I've always had good mentors. They've always saved me. I think the mentors have saved me and enabled me to grow. And I think instead of having this, when I've had self-doubt, I've always reminded myself that I don't expect myself to know everything. I think having some vulnerability to say, actually, you know what, I don't really know everything. I don't really know what I'm talking about all the time. And I need to go and I think Justin and I were talking about this on Wednesday, actually, having a beginner's mindset when you approach something new. Instead of going into something going, but I don't think I'm good enough, or I don't think I can do it, or I don't think the idea is good enough, and the marketplace won't accept me, or she won't like me, and various different stages in your life for different things. Instead of going in there, say, well, actually, I'm a beginner at this. I'm going to start at that place and approach it that way. So yeah, I've had to have a few conversations with myself over the years where I've had to say, some mantras and things like that I've tried, but I think we all battle with it, but you do build some resilience over time. There's actually a great way of a trick that someone told me once they did, and I thought it was fantastic, because different people have different resilience and different people deal with things differently, right? But she had a book of all the good reviews that people have left her, and people have like nice comments that people have that she's worked with before, and she would go to that book and remind herself sometimes of just how awesome she was, and that was quite a nice little trigger. I think we all have different ways of dealing with things, I suppose, is what I'm trying to say there.
Yeah, I always actually like even negative feedback from people, because sometimes they're right. Sometimes there's things that you can learn about what you're doing or how you're doing it that can improve it. So, even if it's nasty stuff, I think criticism can actually be very useful, and it's only a negative thing if you let it pull you down.
Absolutely.
Something positive in any sort of feedback, as far as I'm concerned. Okay. But Dee's asking a question about startups. You're involved in quite a few startups. What do you look for in these businesses you're involved in?
It all starts with a person for me, Simon. Very rarely am I that interested in the product, and I think that will change over time. I am looking for that unicorn we've talked about before. Of course, I think everyone's looking for the unicorn. I think that's part of the fun of the game of getting into startups, right? But I think I always start with the person. I always want to know who they are. I want to know what drives them. Much like you say about recruiting people, it's the same tactic for me. Is I want to know what drives them, what keeps them up at night. I might ring them on a Sunday, which is something that you did to me, actually. Ring me on a Sunday. I'll ring them on a Sunday, and if they answer, that's a good sign, because they may show commitment there. So I have little things that I look for in people. It's not just about startups that I want to get involved in or am involved in. It's partnerships, employees, businesses I want to work with in some capacity. For me, it's all about the person. And their team. And I imagine it's probably a similar thing that you might say about the startups that you've worked with.
Yeah, I mean, I never really look at the idea much. People always say, "Oh, it's the idea, right?" And I feel like the idea will change over time. So it matters, but it doesn't. I mean, purpose in business is important to me, like what the ultimate goal of the business is. So hopefully it's got a purpose that is bigger than the business or bigger than the individuals behind the business. But I think it's always, for me, that most important element of any startup that I get involved in is it's got to be fun. It's quite a selfish thing. I want to enjoy the process of being involved in that business, and hopefully it turns into a unicorn. Hopefully it's successful. But yeah, a bit like you're saying, the people. I want to enjoy working with the people. I don't want it to be painful for them or me. And making money or not, I don't really care. If it's unpleasant, then there's no point. One thing I've always, kind of goes back to what we were saying earlier about partners, but one thing I always do when I get involved in a startup is I meet the founder. Of course, I meet all the founders, and then I like to meet the founder's partner.
Nice.
And actually, it's always, it's a bit of pressure for the partner, but it's always a big eye opener to what life is like for that founder, and maybe the value that founder, because whoever you hang out with, especially your life partner, really does reflect you, in my view. And not being judgmental, just due diligence. And I have, for example, been completely convinced by a business idea before, really like the founder, and then gone to meet their partner, and their partner is frankly a gold digger, and talking about that they're giving up all this stuff to do this startup, and they no business class travel for a while, and you just start realizing the pressure on this founder is going to be so intense to get a real job, that they're not going to last long, and so then you get into those difficult conversations like, is this the right partner for you? And then you can't. But then they've committed that person. That partner is their most important decision in life, and so it's going to be you, the business, against that partner. And so it's that for me, the partner is very important.
That's a really important point, isn't it? The people that you surround. This came up on Wednesday. It's a well-known fact. You are, generally, you're a reflection of the 5 people you're closest to. That's going to happen. You're going to attract those people. So taking a moment to measure that for yourself before you go and speak to the investor would be ideal. So Simon hasn't got to have that conversation.
Well, this is it. Yeah. So that's interesting. This is Nobody's got an interesting business. But they would only work with people that they want to go on vacation with. That's an interesting one. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I think. Well, I do think at the same time, it depends at which level. But I think you do need lots of different types of people within a business. Diversity is so important, I think, in today's age, in anything, and so you can't be everyone's friend, especially as you start to scale and you start building your leadership team, and you've got employees that you might not know their name, and that's so it becomes a point where, as long as someone will go on vacation with them, I suppose, if that makes sense. Like, as long as everyone's got a friend, and if you've got, you get to a stage where, how many employees did you have at the height of your scale in terms of your team size?
350.
Did you know everyone?
No,
and that's fine, because that's why you have a leadership team. So I think it's important that someone goes. I think I'm going to get out of this question by just saying, as long as someone will go on vacation with them, it's fine.
Yeah, someone's on vacation. Yeah, I mean, it definitely. The thing there's a lot of sayings out there. I actually quite like that one about would you go on vacation. I think when you're talking about a one-on-one relationship where you're going to invest in a startup in that context, there is some merit to that.
Absolutely.
You definitely. That's kind of what I was saying. Actually, you're going to invest in someone. You're like married. If I have equity in someone's business, if someone has equity in my business, I've had both arrangements. It's like you are like married to these people. You are talking to them at midnight on Sunday. I think that's Cliff's mentioning that right now.
Yeah, that's pretty standard for me and Cliff.
And it is like that. And if you are working together, it's so intimate. So you might as well go on holiday together. But yeah, equally, I guess that there's got to be some professional line. I have had situations where you're literally having dinner with your partner and someone's ringing you 5 times. You've got to have some rules around it all. But
yeah, of course. I thought there was another comment just above that about which I'm really interested in, from Dee. Are there any common factors in businesses you were involved in and still running and successful? I think this is something I'm really interested in hearing, because I've always had the mindset, and I've tried to maintain the mindset of going forward, that business is business to me, and like I kind of get excited about new industries and new challenges when you've done things. I'm very interested in this about you too, Simon. What are the common factors in the businesses that you were in?
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting because I'm going to plug my book now. I've got a new book coming out, and it's not out till November, but you can register to get it. But in the book, I've tried to talk about this subject, and it is quite complicated. But I think one of the key elements. I mean, of course, I'm going to throw in there. You have to be lucky. It's a funny old.
Of course.
But it is a funny old thing because I know for myself that. I have been lucky. That's why I am successful. People think that takes away from my power somehow, or makes me sound less smart, like a lottery winner. But anyone that's had a big hit in business, it is like a lottery win. It is like a lottery win. I mean, if you look at Facebook, and hopefully they won't block us now for saying this, but you look at Facebook, you look at these platforms that there are moments where they were almost bust. Facebook was almost bust. Peter Thiel comes along and puts some money in, and it goes a little bit further, and then it's almost bust again, and then someone gives it a little bit of money and it goes further, and so any point in that cycle, if COVID had hit, people had tightened up their purse. MySpace would be the dominant platform that we're all broadcasting on right now, and it'll be owned by Rupert Murdoch, as opposed to Facebook, which is owned by the US government. So ultimately, TikTok conversations now, but ultimately, it's I do think one common thing, apart from luck, which is my thing in the book, you have to read my book to get the full insight on that. But I do think another common piece is an element of perseverance. Business is hard. I mean, I think the first year is kind of easy in many respects.
Wrong, can you really?
It's exciting. It's like everything's, office hiring people. It's all exciting. I think year 2 you can build from the momentum of year 1, but year 3. Year 4, these are hard years. I think the average businesses fail in the year 3, right? I mean, it's definitely that kind of like the hump day equivalent in business cycles. And I think perseverance, people that are really passionate, that's why I say purpose is so important in the business. Because if purpose is strong, you just keep going, or you've got no choice but to make it work.
Yeah, that's good. That's a really good point. Really good point. And it might be that you've actually failed in year 2, but your accounts just realized it in year 3. You know, one way or the other, year 3 is the end. You know, it's a really hard. And I know, I get that. You know, you must have had times. I've had it, Simon, where you get to points and it might be certain moments when you've had like a 10-week slog on a big product launch, or where you've had to do those 16 hours, 7 days a week, which has to happen sometimes. That's just it. And you think, well, is it enough? Is it enough? Am I all right just to, and then you're right. You'll remind yourself of that purpose, and it will come back in, and you'll know after. I like to say that it's the holiday thoughts that you'll find out when you're sat on a beach after about a week, whether that ignites you and you're like, I just want to get back to it because I miss it so bad, or actually this is quite nice, and that can be quite dangerous, I think. Yeah,
I mean, it's definitely, you're talking about reflection there as well. I mean, sometimes what is success and what is failure? That question that's being asked there can be broken down into multiple layers. I mean, it's what I've been involved in businesses that have technically failed, but I would actually consider the whole process a success, because the relationships I made with the founders during that process, they went and did something else. I did that with them, and that succeeded. So although that business failed, but the relationship succeeded. Or, I've actually had it the other way too. I've had a business succeed, but my relationship fail. And actually, I would regard those, although they're financial successes, as failures. Because what's important, it sounds cheesy, but ultimately what's important is the journey. And the end of the journey, hopefully you've gone on a car ride and the family's closer. Like you've gone on a car ride and now want to kill each other,
Yeah, that's not really that's not really the result you want, is it, in life?
Success is in the journey. I don't know if the destination itself is really defined as success. Of course, having a financial return, for example, as an investor is you could argue is success. But I have to say I actually value the friendships that I built up in the businesses I've been involved in more than the financial success of any of the businesses I've been involved in. And I hold on to those memories and stories much better than I do the money in the bank.
Well, it sounds like Talia's doing pretty well with that for you, the money in the bank.
Yeah, she's figuring out how to invest it. But yeah, I mean, she's a good example of someone I brought on board who I think is pushing me along. I definitely think as you get older, you not get lazier, but you don't have the same energy you had when you were 20 to kind of go 7 days a week, 18 hours a day. I definitely value my free time now more. Yeah. So sometimes, Talia takes my diary and she fills it up with talking to founders, and I'm like, wow, my diary's completely full up. I better do it. But yeah, it's having people in the business can spur you on, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Good, great question, Dee. Great question.
Oh, I haven't read this one. I'm just putting it up. Hi, Derek. Yeah, I think that's a good point, Derek. I mean, I guess there's always this element as well. Like, you've only failed when you stop.
Yeah.
And even if the business you're in now doesn't work, if you get back on the horse and go again, like you've only failed if you give up completely.
Absolutely.
I hope you're wrong, Christine. I hope you're wrong. They shouldn't kick us off Facebook. We're only telling the truth.
That was funny.
Microsoft and Facebook work together to influence the US government to force them to China to sell TikTok to Microsoft. That's all we're saying.
Nothing more, nothing less.
Right?
You take the PR anyway. You know it.
Yeah, well, yeah. Yeah, Facebook, please come in to arrest me. I'll take that PR. Yeah,
absolutely. That's great. Great questions. Great questions tonight.
But I do like that. Burn the boats that Derek just mentioned. I think that that I don't actually know. It's on Wikipedia it says the Greeks said it, but I always feel like it's probably the Viking. Who said it? Who said it? But I love the idea of you get somewhere and you've got to make it work. I mean, I think I had that because I didn't have an education. But when you have an education, you don't have the degree or so I'm never going to get a job at PwC. So the only choice I've got is to build a company that PwC want to buy. And then when I buy my company, I'm up there at the top because they bought my company. Like they're not going to even give me the interview because they're going to read my crappy bit of paper that says I had a gardening company. And they're going to, what has a guy that's got a gardening company got to do with getting a senior job at PwC? Like they're just not going to give me the job. But if I build a company that they dreamed that they want to own, that's the thing. If I could have got the job, I would have probably gone and got the job at PwC at 16 years old if I could have done, and get the 200 grand a year salary. Sounds good. But if you can't, then but you have the same ambitions to build a big future for yourself, then somehow you've got no choice but to go out there and make it happen.
Yeah, no, I couldn't agree with you more, mate. There on that. It is that chip on the shoulder, isn't it? To say that I'm gonna, having that statement piece to say we're going to be bought by these guys. We're going to make so much noise that they're going to want to buy me, because of that fact. Because you're right, you probably would if you didn't do what you did, Simon. Did you ever have a chance apart from maybe starting in the cupboard at PwC and working your way up through the small opportunities within, and that's also an equal way of getting there, but that was really your only option to get there, right?
Yeah, to be honest, it never even crossed my mind though. I think my father always told me about when he was young and he got a job, and how they basically let him go one day out of the blue, and basically his whole thing was like, just you can't really work for other people. They wanted me to be a lawyer, and they saw that as me working for myself. They didn't know this concept I now know, which is make money by buying time, not selling time. But that somehow being a lawyer, be your own lawyer, be your own boss, but you're still selling hours. But I think I could never get a job with someone else. Not only would they not hire me, I think also I'm sure you're the same now too. There's just an element of like, I would go work for someone if their mission was aligned with mine. That's kind of how I do it with the investments, right? So that's why I like what you're doing, for example, Alex. I feel like what you're doing is aligned with what I'm doing. You're trying to help people, help give back, support businesses, your own and others, and I feel like I would go work for someone under their mission, but I couldn't go work for PwC because I feel like they actually I think I'm not legally allowed to say this, but their mission is a little bit lost on me. Like they're auditing big firms' accounts, and they're guaranteed that work every 4 years. And they took my business and added on a creative marketing piece to that service. But I don't feel like it's that purposeful for me. If they said they were going to take all their profits and invest it in helping people with mental health, and put all that money into building a mental health awareness app, then I'd be like, I'll come and work for PwC. Where do I sign up? I'm saying that because Luke just mentioned this himself.
That's nice.
But I feel like that's why I'm willing to get involved in building a new estate agents. I don't particularly like estate agents, but I'm investing in one because they're going to solve the homelessness crisis with the money that you get from selling houses.
That's awesome, man.
So that makes it. I'll go work for those people for free, and I'll give them money, and and I'll give them all my resources for free because ultimately they're going to solve an important thing that should be solved.
Yeah,
but
nice.
I don't have that anyway. I mean, I can't really think when I was younger. I feel like they got Google and these other companies. They got better at this, but generally, even today, what's the purpose of Microsoft? It sounds like good to go work for them, but I actually can't think of their purpose.
No, I don't think I'm sure someone who's really passionate about Microsoft maybe they'll tell us, but I don't.
If anyone can throw me a comment, what big brand with respect, at scale actually has a purpose? Any of us know? That's why I can work for these people.
No. Well, why do you think Bill Gates took all his money and put it into his foundation? If Microsoft had the purpose, he probably would have kept it there, but shareholders probably were driving profits and didn't allow Bill Gates to do those amazing things that he is now doing with that foundation.
This is it. That's why. That's right. I mean, that's what happens, isn't it? I mean, even Mark Zuckerberg's done the same, right? It's like, it's quite funny.
Shareholders ruin it for us, you know, or you know, some shareholders that have only driven by profits. That's up to you. Again, though, this comes back to the ownership piece. I know there are times where, you know, like you rightfully say, and I've been there, where you've hit the floor in your journey, and you need to be, you know, you need that cash injection to get you bailed out, to get you back up and going again. And that's, you know, when you need that money, it's not always, you can't always be picky, but you need to be making sure that you choose people that are believing in your purpose and will still follow your lead and your purpose to allow you to go and do those things and not have to go set up another foundation. You know, you look at Innocent again. I'll use the example of Innocent Smoothies. That I hold them in high regard in terms of how they operate as an organization. They took investment from Coca-Cola. Can you believe? Can you think of all the organizations? You got Innocent Smoothies and Coca-Cola, you know, wow. and if you actually look into the story behind how that came about, that basically they just really needed the cash. But it sounds like they really protected their brand in that situation by putting up some barriers and some walls. So really interesting point.
And in fairness, individuals inside companies can have purpose. So yeah. I've seen, I mean, I don't know about that Coca-Cola deal, but I have seen situations, and I have to give credit even to PwC when they bought my company. They actually cared about making the creative world a better place, you know, like they cared about the people, and you know, and there were the people that did that deal cared.
Yeah.
And I'm not just saying that to dig myself out of a hole I'd probably put myself in. I'm genuinely, you know, it's genuinely true. The people who did the deal were good people. I'm just saying that a lot of the time these big corporations do lose their way, and sometimes they try to make their way back up through, you know, investing in good businesses. I mean, of course, we all know, probably most people know anyway, that Bill Gates invested in Apple and saved them. He put $100 million into them, and just before they were going to go bankrupt, they'd stop them going bankrupt. Now the cynics say he had a reason for doing that wasn't help Steve Jobs, but this, and he had to imagine that, you know, Steve Jobs always felt that Bill Gates stole his software idea. So, you know, how hard that must have been for Steve Jobs to take the money from Bill Gates, you know. But sometimes the two people get together, and you know, the backstory of that story is that they sat together and they've actually got a lot in common. They've both built, you know, big companies that changed the world. Whatever way you look at it, Microsoft changed the world. And so, and of course, so did Apple. So, you know, they have something in common there, and maybe that common thread is what makes them support each other, even though in theory they're enemies.
Well, you need, and this is what bigger purpose. This is bigger than. So this is why we're having this conversation right now, Simon. You alluded to earlier. We both have a shared common goal to support entrepreneurs grow their businesses and build life for themselves. So. Microsoft and Apple, they know if they're both innovating, if they're both investing in people and building new cool things, then they're going to accelerate the growth of their own business. Even if, obviously, in the tech world, it's always like us. It's like this product launch. Then I'm going to do one. 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 And it's just this. But that's a good thing. That's a good thing for their business, and they'll have that in their business plan. So, yeah, I love. I think all of us, and it's something that we hold very highly in regarding Shifties, and something that I want to deal with within the UK is a big problem, especially with like networking and things like that. We talked about this before, you know, where you can only have like one accountant in the room, sort of networking situations. Whereas in Shifties, we say collaborate, communicate. You know, go find other people in your same industry. You know, learn from each other, share leads, share ideas. Help each other, support each other, grow as an industry. And I think a lot more of us should be thinking a bit bigger than that, than just ourselves again.
But it's very difficult. I mean, I know myself, you know, and Dee's just mentioning here as well, people get lost on their purpose. I think sometimes ego gets in the way or something. I'll give you an example of for myself, putting myself in a bad light for a second, but I did a podcast recording for someone, and I put it up on my own communication channels, and then they said, "Oh, can I put this on my channel, on the person I recorded the podcast with?" And I had an instant thought, which was, no, I want people to go to my channel.
Yeah.
Right? I know I've recorded it, I've edited it, I've produced it. I want people to go to my channel. And then within the same second, I realized actually my purpose is about creating useful content that will help people. And if that's true, it doesn't matter where that content sits.
Yeah.
So within 1 second of it, I checked my ego and said, no, it's not about them coming to my platform to listen to that content. It's about people finding that content and finding it useful. So therefore, yes, if you want to put it on your channel and then people find it and it's useful and you get the subscriber, the view, the whatever, then all good.
Yeah.
Right? I think what Dee's talking about there, where people can lose their purpose, I think it's absolutely true. I know how important purpose is. I am working for free. I'm investing in what I'm doing, my platform, and taking no income from it. But sometimes you can get lost, and there's moments. I think little moments where you can get lost. So I think that deal that Innocent did with Coca-Cola, I'm sure they got it right, but that was a moment. You can take Coca-Cola's money. You just got to make sure there's a firewall between them and your purpose.
Absolutely.
Or make sure that they're getting involved for the right reasons. In other words, not so they can learn from you and steal your idea, but they're there to try and help your idea become mainstream. It's just getting the deal right, not necessarily the people that. So I think the purpose is. I find myself also always reminding myself, which is why people should put their purpose written on the wall, or I've got it actually on the inside of my cupboard where I go every morning to get my tea.
Nice.
I'm doing this to help other people, but you have to remind yourself because ego can get in the way, right?
Oh yes. I like Cliff's comment the best.
What's he saying? Oh yeah, okay, yeah, right. That's right.
Come on over, man. You're always welcome here. You know that.
Yeah. We're doing it, aren't we? This is what we're doing.
No, it's happening, mate. No, it's happening.
Everybody I've ever met in the last 30 years is hearing your name right now, so I'm pushing it everywhere.
I appreciate it, mate. I appreciate all the support. You know I do.
Well, you're doing a good job. What is the plans for Shifties going forward?
So we are just finishing developing the website now. We've been trying to build a tool and a place for people to go to, really like a safe place that you can go to the website, and there's that you can sign up to events like this, you can sign up to masterminds, you can sign up to networking events, download tools, download resources. That's all kind of driven by the community. It's something that we wanted to do for a while. But we have to start scaling now the community, and we mainly because, as you know, you can make a lot more impact in the world, because our purpose is to help entrepreneurs connect, learn, and grow together. And the idea is it's one wave of Shifties at a time. That's our kind of thing. That's our mission. And right now it's a case of we've been through some real hard times over the last few months, as you know. You've been part of our journey, helping us through with your inspiration too. Once we get ourselves sorted, then I think we have a moral code here to help the next wave of Shifties that come into Shifties to learn from us and help them learn from each other. The next big step for us is to really, I want to build the business and build a community that genuinely just gives back to that next generation. That's my passion. I really want to help those young entrepreneurs get into business and use entrepreneurship as a vehicle to make change. And it's tremendously important to me, and it's tremendously important to the people that have hung around in Shifties. It's not just about coming to grow your business, because that's going to happen anyway. As you know, you get those fundamentals right, you build those relationships, you implement those strategies, you try, you fail, you'll find your way eventually. But I think it's more important that we don't then leave. We don't then just finish and then we go, well, I'm done, I'm sorted, thank you very much. It's more for, there's more of a drive going forward to make an impact on the next generation of entrepreneurs. That's kind of what's happening next. But in terms of physical things happening over the next few months, October's season 1. We're going to be operating in seasons. So October, November, December is our season 1. And what's going to happen is we're going to start inviting some not quite as big name as Simon Squibb, but some big names in business as well, coming in to Shifties and sharing some insights. We've got challenges and quests where we can go on journeys together to learn new skills. I think, in fact, at the end of August, we've got a productivity challenge we ran last year called Save 5 Hours in 5 Days. It was great. In fact, I don't know if Victor's watching, or he'll be watching back. If not, I'm sure. He's a great success story from this. So basically, it's productivity hacks, which we learn over 5 days. There's a great guy called Justin. Well, you know Justin. You've spoken to Justin Lee.
Yep.
So it's a combination of it's our Get Shift Done message, and that's about being the most productive version of ourselves. If you haven't got money, then you need to be very productive with your time. So we managed to save everyone at least 5 hours in their week over this 5-day period. And Victor Sachs, and I love him for this, we said to everyone at the end of that process, right, what are you going to do with those extra 5 hours you've got in your week? And Victor said, I'm going to start losing weight. And he swims now an hour a day.
Wow.
Ongoing. And I think he's lost, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think he's lost about 6.5, 7 stone.
Wow.
And so we're going to be, so it's all right, fine. You're going to join Shifties because you want to grow your business, but you're going to stay for the self-development, the relationships, and the impact that we can then make as a community.
Good plan, man. Good plan.
And you're going to help me at some point.
Well, yeah, I'm trying my best to. I love it. I always think about how to make sure you get outside of Facebook. That's one of my.
That's where the website comes in. That's where
you got to get out. You can't rely on that Death Star, man.
No, we can't. So with website is being purpose built, and we're 2 weeks away. I'll send you a beta version as soon as it's ready. A core audience are going to get beta access to it, and there'll be, whether you're a member or a guest, you'll get different level of access into the website. It's pretty cool. Cool.
Look forward to that. So just think, this is new for you and me doing this on Friday night. I don't know whose idea it was to do this on a Friday night, but nice one, whoever it was. But I forgot. I think next time maybe we'll do drinks after. So anyone listening now, jump into a Zoom after, and we can have like chat with everyone. We didn't really. I think we've run out of time this time, have we? I don't know.
I think so. We'll do it next time. We got a couple of final questions here.
Okay, I think we have a look at what we're going on. I think we talked about this earlier. I don't know about working for you for a few days beforehand, because I think once you bring people in, it's like you got to train them all up and get them to know your systems and give them an email and give them. I think spend a few more weeks getting to know them. Now I go on a long walk with them and let them talk for an hour and get to know their lives and who they are and ask the right questions. Not what will you do for me, but what can I do for you? I don't know if working for you for a few days is really going to make much difference. No. What do you think, Alex?
Yeah, I agree. You got to give it a lot more time than that. That's for sure.
And then, how far into your business do you go before putting in place a full-time back office function? Oh well, I personally speaking, Alex might have a different view on this, but I get that installed straight away because I'm so shit at it. But if I don't get that in place from day one, about 6 months, 7 months down the line, I'm literally like, where's all that paperwork?
I agree, man.
I get that lined up beforehand. What about you, Alex?
Cliff's asking because we've just hired someone in HR, finance, PM, and I've been saying the same for ages. I've always said it. If I'm sat at my desk, apart from for this sort of thing, then I'm doing something wrong. I need to be out there having conversations, championing the business, doing deals, or enjoying my life one way or the other. But you've got to invest in the business, and it's impossible to do that without people that. And interestingly, just to share on this, actually, this week we've interviewed a lot of people, and something that came across really interesting to me was that we're now hiring we're now attracting and hiring people that are better than us. And I like that. I like that a lot. And it's quite, previously, this is your whole 6 and 7s, your 9 and 10s thing. We are attracting some what I would believe to be, I don't want to go hit their egos, so maybe 8s and 9s. So, it's quite interesting as you do this. You allow yourself to invest in the business. You allow yourself to build that team. You start finding some unlocking roles that you didn't even realize that you needed because there are people that are that good. So I'm with Simon, and given that I'm one of Cliff's business partners, and we might have shareholders that are maybe questioning whether we should get that person or that person, hire them all.
I think you're making a very good point there, because I also found with my own experience of hiring people, when I was earlier on in my business building stages, I couldn't afford 9 and 10s in my mind. I basically felt when you start recruiting up the food chain, it can make a huge difference to your business. In other words, it's ironic, you get what you pay for. If you're saying that to clients, but then you're not doing it inside your own business, it's kind of, what do you expect?
Yeah.
I think you've got to invest in really good people, and then your business can become really good. And sometimes I feel, and I do feel like sometimes people penny pinch. I remember having this conversation with, again, I'm always sensitive about insulting anyone, but someone that took over one of my businesses. And I remember having a conversation about their salary, and they said what they wanted, and I just said yes. And they were like, I thought we'd negotiate and blah, blah, blah. And I said, no, it's okay. I'll pay you what you want. I mean, at the end of the day, it's really just profit you're taking from the business. So it's less profit for the business to reinvest back in the business. And within 3 months of them running the business, they cut their own salary to reinvest in hiring good people.
Good.
Yeah, but you see what I mean? Like, actually, the psychology of payment, if you get the right people in, you pay them properly, they will self-regulate themselves.
Yeah.
And so, you regulating salary, sometimes you go in there with a fixed amount. Well, you're a 9 and 10, but I'm only going to pay you X. Therefore, they feel they can't join. And then they could, once they get into the business, they buy into the mission, they'll self-regulate themselves if they're good enough, And
it's true as well, because it's like, and I'm the same. I might be too far. Like some might sound too far. Like I'm just like, yeah, I'm like you. I'm like, I want you. Come on in. Let's just do this, because I can see, someone between, I don't know, I pick a number, 80,000 and 60,000 in terms of 2 different salary points, right? If I'm having to worry about that, then my business isn't doing enough in terms of profits and turnover anyway. That's not a large amount of money in the grand scheme of things for the business. And I'll always ask myself this: does having that person in the business enable either them, depending whether they're a revenue generated employee or they're an enabling employee, i.e., they're going to enable me to go and generate more revenue. Does that happen? And if the answer is yes, it's just whatever they need to make sure they're committed.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting because in the investment world, it goes completely the opposite way. If someone says to me, Simon, come and work for me, and I would say, okay, I'll buy equity in your business. I'll give you money to work for you.
Nice.
So, but that's basically what it's like. And when you're investing in startups, that's pretty much what you're doing, right? You'll go into a company, and I've done this 66 times. I've invested in 66 startups. Yeah, you're basically saying, I really like your business. I want to come and work for you for free, and I'm going to give you £150,000.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, but it's interesting that it's kind of a flip point to what I'm saying. But there is also, on the other side, anyone looking for a job should also carefully consider where they're going to work, and would they buy into that business? Would they see it as an opportunity to grow with that business? And it's kind of a word of warning on the other side for people that come in with big expectations. Sometimes, you can go in there, be purposeful, help the business be successful, and then take out what you need because you contributed to making it successful. I think right now, in particular, with COVID era, if people are walking around asking small businesses to pay them £200,000 a year, they might be sitting out without work for a while,
Yeah.
Whereas if they believe in their own abilities, they can go in and invest in that business, take a piece of it, and scale up their salary way beyond a fixed amount of £200,000 a year.
Very true. Yeah, very true. In fact, we saw it, mate. We saw it in day one of lockdown. We saw it. This was the whole pressure applied, character revealed. I had people in this business, in our businesses, different people come and say different things. Some were like, but what about my salary? Or what about my me, my. Whereas we had other people that don't have equity in the business as well, saying, if I need to take a pay cut, no problem at all. I'll do whatever it takes to be there. And that same person, and he'll know who he is because he'll be listen back to this, I'm sure, would say the same about commission. I don't want commission. You know what I want. You know what I want long term. I'm here for the long game. And that is when you know you've got a 9 or a 10. Totally, yeah. I think that 9 and 10 thing is so important, and it makes your life so much more pleasurable as well. Agreed. You're not motivating them; they're motivating themselves. If anything, they're motivating you. Yeah. It's transformational. And never have a discussion about salary. It's kind of it's kind of silly. Once you found a 9 and 10, it's just a question of like, do you like each other? And how can you make it so you need each other long term? In other words, the success of the business is directly linked to their benefit and vice versa. Absolutely. Anyway, I think I've got your partner in crime saying we've gone over time in a polite way, and and we need to have a life. Oh, right, yeah, of course, yeah. I'd look at the time, to be fair. But let's just finish up on this then. So what's this? Of course. Yeah. We are over again. We are over again, and I could keep going, to be honest, because I know, I love it. You, my friend, are a 9 and 10. Yeah. Okay. There you go. 9.5. He says. Cliff, yeah, come on, Cliff. You talking about me or Alex? I think he's talking about me. I know he's talking about you. Doesn't know if I'm a 9.5. Or the other person I was talking about. My wife was a 7 out of 10 and she's never forgiven me. Be careful, man. Yeah, she's definitely a 10 out of 10. Definitely. Well, look, Simon, this has been absolutely amazing. There's been nothing short of. Next time, let's do kind of half hour on a subject, and maybe you do a poll after this to people in your community, and I'll do a poll on a subject, and then we'll talk about the top 3, and then we'll open up a Zoom for a beer or wine or water in your case afterwards. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So next week we'll do a Zoom thing at the end of it, and everyone can come in and chat. We'll hang out a bit like we did that first time. And I will be with our friend Danny over in Amalfi Coast in Italy. Very much enjoying that Friday evening. So next Friday you're going to be in Italy, are you? Yeah. Are you sure about this, man? You're on holiday. You sure you want to jump on a live? Plus, Italy's Wi-Fi is totally shit. So. Well, it might be problematic, but we'll see. I'll text you if it becomes, or I might end up being like quarantined or something in the airport, and there's a problem. I don't know. You need to send me a background picture so I can make my background just as nice. Otherwise, that's what I was going to do. I was like, look, it's real. It's actually a real background for once. We'll see how we go. We'll see how we go. If there may be a problem next Friday, we'll see. Yeah. All right. Well, let's give it a go, mate. I look forward to it, and nice to chat tonight. And thank you everyone for listening to our ramble, I guess. Yeah, it was brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. Thank you for all the questions and tuning in. And thank you, Simon. Good night.